Okay, so kind of, I guess, put the cart before the horse in a sense with the first historical stories video that I did. What I should have done was explain what the Revolutionary War was first, or maybe it goes better this way. I don't know. You let me know in the comments. So here's what happened when America was first becoming a country, and how it became. This is how it became a country, really. Um, it was, we had the Pilgrims and everything. If you've learned that in your history class, probably going to do something about that around Thanksgiving time because Thanksgiving, obviously. I want to do a couple of videos about like us coming, like our ancestors or what have you, coming here from the other side of the pond. And with this one, though, the main goal is to explain to our viewers who may not know what the Revolutionary War was, particularly my son, because the question was asked, and me and him did have the discussion already, kind of, but I thought this would be a great second episode of Historical Stories. I'm going to try and roll out some historical story episodes very quickly here over the next couple of, with historical stories, after my dog has tried to destroy a book. Save the book, thankfully. Now, Revolutionary War started off. There was a war before that known as the French and Indian War. It's where the British/American colonies fought the French and the Indians. It caused the British to have a whole lot of debt, and they felt that the American colonies needed to pay for it because the British helped them in Britain's eyes. We helped you stay safe through all this, and you cost us a lot of money, so you're going to help pay the bill. And the American colonies were pretty much like, no. Now, how were they going to pay that bill? We kind of mentioned two of them in the other video of historical stories, which it's going to be in a playlist, and it's going to be in the description below that you can click the link on. So we see the 13 colonies that make up the United States. They get hit with the Stamp Act, the Townsend Act, and Sugar Act, as well as the Tea Act, which also started the Boston Tea Party. There's going to be a whole episode on the Boston Tea Party coming up soon. Actually, I might go ahead and do that one. My initial plan was to do the episode on John Adams and Thomas Jefferson next, but a couple of things are getting in the way of that, so it's just going to go how it's going to go. And things aren't really getting in the way. Sounds like things are being hindered. Things aren't really being hindered. Things are just being set up. So let's continue talking about the Revolutionary War. One of the very first things that kind of started the Revolutionary War was the Boston Massacre, which we discussed in Crispus Attucks' death. But there was a boy, like I mentioned in the other video, that died like a week prior to, no, it was more like 2 weeks or so. 11 days, I think is what it was. 11-year-old boy in 11 days. That was how I was trying to associate it in my mind, if I remember correctly. Doing a lot of this off the cuff right now. I guess I should have done more research, so I apologize if this part of the video is frustrating you. Now, back to what we were talking about. So, our forefathers didn't want to pay it, and they felt like the taxes were incredibly high and outrageous, and they were only paying 1 to 3%. We are paying today. Federally, we are paying 15%. Thereabouts. It's 15 and a decimal point. Put it right there. So, just federally, we're paying more, but we also have state taxes. We have, other things that are withheld as well that would make our forefathers go nuts because of how much of our money is being withheld. Younger viewers, ask your mom and dad to see what a check stub looks like, to see what is being taken out. And, be a great math lesson for you as well, for you younger viewers that might be watching this. For us older viewers, we already know. I think it almost feels like 50% of what I make before taxes are taken out is what's taken after everything. That's what it feels like. I feel like I work to pay for the government. Got a government job and I don't even work for the government. So, yeah. Can't you, I mean, personally, I'm frustrated with what I pay tax-wise. I, you know, didn't want to get into opinions on things here because the purpose of these videos, like I stated at the end of the first video, is to give you the information so you can form your own opinion. Another thing that I wanted to address from the first video was propaganda. Those of you who don't know what propaganda is, it is where things are back then would have been printed or basically printed or spoken out loud to promote one side of a war's feelings. And it doesn't even have to be a war. You can do it with politics. You can do it with pretty much anything. You know, if you want to promote one thing, that would basically be a loose definition of propaganda. So, you know, the British, you'll hear terms for the British like redcoats. That's one I'll use probably a lot. So the British were the redcoats, obviously, like I said. They were, you know, our side didn't do wrong, whereas the American side was our side didn't do wrong. I think that pretty well sums up what happened with the Boston Massacre. Is our side did this, our side did that, and you know, obviously both sides had an agenda. Our side was, you know, the American side was wanting to move towards freedom, and you know, not being under British rule anymore. And you know, I love the quote from the movie The Patriot. Why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 a mile? One tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away. And I just talking about this, it made me think about that. Honestly, that's, you know, like I said, just a great quote. Let's talk about who were some of the major players that we will be discussing in our videos coming up while we're discussing American Revolution stuff. You're going to hear the name Lord Cornwallis some. That is the major leader of the British Army. You're going to hear George Washington's name a lot. Anybody that's seen a dollar bill kind of have an idea of who George Washington was. But he'll be mentioned a lot in the videos because he was not only our first president, he was our major general at the time. We'll also be talking about Benedict Arnold, the importance he had in everything. There's quite a few people we'll be talking about, a lot more probably on the American side than the British side, for obvious reasons, trying to portray American history. I won't always be doing American history, but that's what we're focusing on right now. I really wanted to talk about the American Revolution, although maybe I should be switching gears to World War II and World War I because of what's going on in the world right now. That might be something that I can consider here soon, because, well, look outside. not exactly look outside, but, you know, watch the news or what have you to see what's going on. Now, so we basically didn't want to pay the taxes. That's why the Revolutionary War started, like I had said. Some of the major battles that we'll be discussing are Lexington and Concord. And yeah, there's a lot that's going on. You'll hear things mentioned about British Parliament, which is kind of like how we have Congress and the House and stuff today. This is the easiest way to liken it to get people to understand is it was a group of people over in Britain, over in England, that would come together, kind of like what our government does now, not with the president and everything. You know, they had a king and stuff, but they would come together and they would decide and vote and pass the laws for people that they didn't have anything to do with over in America, and that really upset the American people. You know, the colonies at the time. That's why that was one of the biggest issues, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at with the quote earlier about the, you know, one tyrant 3,000 miles away or 3,000 tyrants, you know, closer to home. A lot of the people wanted to have people that lived here, that, you know, in the original 13 colonies, they wanted those people to have a say in what was going on, and have people that understood what it was like to be here and dealing with the things that we were dealing with here, being in those, you know, government roles, whatever they were, whether it was, you know, first president, vice president, all the way down the list, you know, Congress, because we did have a Congress. We had a Congress before we actually had any other type of government, because the first group of congressional meeting happened whenever we were trying to form the Declaration of Independence and stuff. And there's going to be a whole episode dedicated specifically to the Declaration of Independence, and I might actually have a special guest for that one. To wrap this video up, we are going to list off the 13 original colonies, because that's, you know, big deal. I mean, I keep saying 13 original colonies, and you're like, okay, well, what were those? So the 13 original colonies, let's see if I can do this. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maryland, Delaware, New York, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Jersey. I was trying so hard to be impressive, remembering them all off the top of my head, and I failed. So, there we are. We've reached the end of this video. Hopefully this had a little bit more helpful information, as well as some ramblings from a insane person. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment what you want to hear about on historical stories. If you see anything that I need corrected, also comment with that. Make sure you give it a like, subscribe, so you can be following when any of my YouTube videos pop up. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. I really appreciate you.